Okay, and now to end the double me madness, because using two models at once is probably going to melt my processor. Boy, wouldn't it be useful if we had a sponsor of some kind that could help with gaming PCs? I don't know, maybe check the description for that. Anyways, we gotta talk about Ohio, because apparently Ohio's doing dumb stuff. Before we do that, fan art section, as per usual, we have from Blue Cat Shadow a FNAF Suris. So if any of you are FNAF fans, then I hope this jump scared you and gave you nightmares for all of time. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into the nightmares of what the hell Ohio is doing. So Ohio has a budget. Oh god, we need to move this over here because with two of me, I'm taking up way too much of the screen. Ohio's budget has a provision allowing medical providers to refuse care to the LGBTQ community. And of course, their governor, DeWine, said that people could just find another provider. Yeah, just remember how we had these conversations about fucking cake baking and everybody was just like, find another baker? And now we've got, we have the reductio ad absurdum of this. Just go find another healthcare provider. Oh, so you're gay and your doctor doesn't want to treat you? Oh, just go find another hospital. Oh, are you like bleeding out of your left lung? Just go find another hospital. It's fine. You can do it. You can do it. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. Except you wouldn't be, because this is dumb, and this should not be allowed. But let's go ahead and read the article. In Governor Mike DeWine's own words, the newly signed state budget reflects what Ohio values. The $74 billion budget focuses on main points like infrastructure, tax cuts, school funding, and access to broadband. This budget is what pulls us together and reminds us that we have so much more in common than the things that pull us apart. Dicks swimming around in the brain right there, DeWine. Seriously. If you want to talk about the things we have in common and not the things that pull us apart, then maybe don't put in a provision into your budget that allows for discrimination against LGBTQ people in medical practice. Gwen Stembridge works with Equality Ohio, an organization that advocates and educates to achieve fair treatment and equal opportunity for all Ohioans. She said that the newly signed state budget does speak loud and clear, but the message isn't a positive one. It makes it clear that there are people who do not want the LGBT community to access healthcare, and that's not okay. Stembridge is referring to the last-minute provision in the state budget that allows healthcare workers, hospitals, and health insurance providers the ability to refuse care to someone based on moral, ethical, or religious beliefs or principles. The budget was also subjected to the 14-line item vetoes by DeWine, but he did not veto the medical refusal provision. He says, I think we have to respect people's rights and people's ability to make those decisions, said DeWine when asked why he didn't veto it. So, wait, hold on. Governor DeWine, do you legitimately think that somebody's religious belief should factor into whether or not they should have to do a medical job, something required to, you know, have people survive? Is that not a, does that ring like as fair to you? Because let's say that somebody is a viral anti-Semite. And they do so under the guise that they're a Christian and the Jews were Christ killers. They were, in fact, the people who were okay with Christ dying on the cross when Pilate asked the people, what would you have us do with this man? And so they have a problem with Jews, and they're going to hide behind their religion as an argument for their bigotry. So this anti-Semite gets to not treat Jewish people because he doesn't like them. Now, let's say that this anti-Semite just happens to be owning a hospital. He can then put it in as a policy that they refuse service to Jewish people because, well, your budget provision allowed for that in the hospital. Now, I'm using this example because I think it's important to show why stuff like this can affect issues over and above the LGBTQ angle. Because if he cared about the LGBTQ angle, then he wouldn't have written the provision, or he wouldn't have taken the opportunity to not veto the provision as written. He would have looked at that and said, hey, that's not okay, and then would have hidden his veto stamp on it. But instead, he didn't. So as a result, I have to go ahead and go into the reductio ad absurdum. Stembridge says adding a provision like this one into the budget as a last-minute thing is sneaky. It should go through the committee process. It should go through the process that a bill is supposed to go through. Sneaking it in a budget is deceitful and sneaky. It's a time when they knew people would be distracted, and so they snuck it in there, and it passed. She is worried that the small provision in the 2,400-page budget will have huge implications for the tens of thousands of Ohioans who are in the LGBTQ community. The fear of going to the doctor and knowing that they are going to treat me equally, or the fear of going to the doctor and of knowing they're going to treat me equally, am I going to get the care that I need? That's already the question, and this just exacerbates that. We know that the LGBTQ community, for one, we still lack the basic non-discrimination protections, so employment, housing, public accommodations, we still don't have those protections in Ohio. This just adds insult to injury. And it says that even in medical care spaces, we can be denied those basic protections. But DeWine says that this won't lead to any discrimination. So it doesn't matter, DeWine, though. It doesn't matter. See, here's the thing. I'm sure there's going to be somebody in the comment section who goes, well, what if it... or who's going to try to argue that this isn't going to lead to a problem, and that's fine. To you in the comment section who tries to say that nobody in their right mind would actually go through with any of that, therefore this isn't a problem. The problem is not that there is a consequence that it will happen. The problem is that they are allowed to do it. The problem is that when your state is allowed to literally legislate discrimination, that's an issue. Whether or not anybody does it is not the problem at hand. Let me give you an example through reductio ad absurdum again. Let's say that the state said it was okay to murder someone. And then let's say that nobody engaged in murderous activity for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, however long. And people just would say repeatedly, oh, well, it doesn't matter that the legislation changed because, well, the end result wasn't a lot of people getting murdered because it didn't happen. Except the problem is that someone in their right mind of minds, dicks for brains and all, decided that it would be a good idea to allow murder to not go punished. The fact that somebody thought that that was okay to put in legislation would be the problem at hand, regardless of what the population's response to it would be. Just like if they were to legalize slavery again and nobody ended up picking up slaves, the fact that they legalize it again, over and above the 13th Amendment, would be the problem at hand. Likewise, outside of the reductio, back to reality, allowing the provision for discrimination, regardless of whether or not anybody takes the opportunity to discriminate, is in fact the problem. It says that people are not going to be discriminated against in regards to medical care. This is not a problem, has not been a problem in the state of Ohio, and I do not expect it to be a problem. Again, it does not matter if the problem manages to manifest. It is the fact that you did the thing that caused the problem. If I aim a gun into a crowded area and I fire the gun and the bullet does not hit anyone, it doesn't matter if the bullet did not hit anybody. What matters is that I took the time out of my day to aim the gun in the crowd and fire in the first place. He says that healthcare providers in Ohio are vast, and a patient could just find another provider. Yeah, sometimes that's not a fucking option, dude. So if there's other things that maybe a doctor has a conscious problem with, it gets worked out, and somebody else does those things, he said. But Stembridge argued that while Northeast Ohio is home to many healthcare providers, rural areas are not. Also, Razzie Redwitch, thank you very much for the follow. That it's going to prevent people from wanting to go and even seek care. This could apply to someone seeking reproductive health care, anyone seeking end-of-life care. And if a provider doesn't agree with the way that they're seeking to do those things, they just could end up experiencing discrimination. DeWine touted the budget as an investment towards a bright future, but Stembridge says that this provision is a step in the wrong direction. This will leave a detrimental effect in Ohio, and there is no question about that, she said. I saw the billboard that said Ohio, you can find it here, and I was thinking about discrimination. Now it makes it clear that discrimination in Ohio, you can find it here. Several LGBTQ advocacy groups, healthcare providers, and the Ohio Hospital and Ohio Insurance Associations have spoken out against the new law, and Stemper says that Equality Ohio will continue to gather those voices and fight against the provision. So, I gotta ask, what do you guys think about this in the chat? Naki, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an owl, inappropriately timed as it is. What do you guys think about this? Because to me, this reads as utter bullshit. This is not a reality, regardless of the particulars of how it manifests. This is not a reality that people should have to deal with. This is not a situation that people should have to experience. This is not a reality that we should even be walking towards in half steps. And yet it gets signed in. And not signed in as a part of a bill that gets discussed in a General Assembly. No, this is a budgetary thing that was thrown in at the last minute on a 2,400-page document that nobody's gonna fucking read. Why? Instead of answering the question, DeWine, with nobody's going to experience discrimination as a result of this, maybe you should be answering the question of why you decided to do this in the first place. Why you decided to sign that into law and let that go through. Not whether or not this will affect people, not whether or not this will manifest negatively for the people of Ohio, not whether or not people will be able to just find a different healthcare provider in order to survive the winter. No, we need to be asking the question, why did you, when you had the pen in your hand and you put it to the paper, did you sign it through without asking the question, why? So if you're in Ohio, let me know in the comment section below what you think of your governor right now. Because I would be sending some phone calls to his office. That's just me. He's a public representative. He decided to take that. Sucks to be him. I would be calling him. I would be leaving a lot of messages to pretty much every one of his constituents, if possible, to try to convince or change or do something that will make it to where this is not in law and in effect for any long amount of time. But that's what I would be doing. Anyways, let me know what you are going to be doing, what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Let me know in the chat also, and as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.